Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'll be working on today is my BcRacing Coilovers. Just want to let you guys know that if you're watching this, thank you. Please subscribe at the very bottom to help me out more so I can get more subscribers. It will help me boost up everything I can do to get more content for you guys. So let's get this channel started higher and higher. I really need over like 2,000 subscribers just to get me started, really. So right now I'm at the very minimum. I understand it's we're in a weird pandemic issue with this virus and everything, and plus me just getting started. So I understand that it's going to take a lot of time to get things going. So hopefully you guys can subscribe and help me out, and let's get this car started with BcRacing Coilovers. Proper setup and everything. One, you need like a tape measure, a notepad, and a pen or pencil. I use a pencil so I can just erase it really quick if I need to. And coilovers, and I'll show you what I like to do. Two things by measurements over here. Measure the top of the fender to the ground, and in between, how much clearance is in between here. Then also would show you to measure the inside where the strut is, just to give you like an idea what to look for to get the proper distance from factory with the car being static height, not dynamic. Dynamic is more just movement of play and all this stuff, driving around kind of thing. That's dynamic. Static play is sit in one position and see how the car is actually naturally set up prior. You will have, like, if you have different wheels and tires set up, you might have a small amount of difference of in the size of like measuring, just because different tire profile and wheels set up. So just don't go by my numbers, just get close to your numbers you can to measure all four corners. Not just one. All four corners going to be roughly going to be a little bit different, especially the rears are going to be a different different setup than the front, because you have a front McPherson front strut onto a spindle hub assembly. The rears is basically you got a spring by itself and you got a strut shock by itself. So let's I'm gonna get open this box right here and show you what I have. I have a custom spring rate for this. I have a 10K for the front, 10K for the front, and 10K in the rear. I know people say, why did you do that? It's like, it don't make sense. Like for me, I did a little math, geometry for it, and see, like from my previous video of my quarter balancing from stock suspension, see how much actually how much weight on each spring actually is, and it shows about 900 plus pounds in the front and about 600 in the rear. So that basically gives me an idea how much load the front's put down naturally. And these are a 560. The 10K is basically a 560 spring. So that basically will give me, say if it's a 900 spring from the front, it'll give me roughly 350, 400 spring available. Not like available, but this is actually over 2,000 spring available if you measured from each, how much by inch right here, and you times that number by 2 of the spring rate itself. So 560 times 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, and give us like about, with these two, about 4 inches. So 4 times 560 is over 2,000. That gives me enough room to play around. Actually, I want to see you measure this really quick, having a quick idea how this is going to play out. Because I actually, when I measured the inside, I measured on the top surface where it meets on the hub, on the mount. So I'll give you a quick idea right here. What would it be? 15 inches. So naturally this car setup is already 14 inches, so just a hair under 14. This is about 15 inches. That means I have to move this little collar right here, move this little collar in this way. See if it's loose. It might not be. Well, I have to pre-loosen this and move it about 1 inch that way to give you a factory height on that system. Not too bad. Just a quick observation of how to get a spring rate basically set up quickly as possible, so you can pre-adjustment long term before I go back on the corner balance machine and also get online. Make sure my camber is proper, make sure my toe is proper, and also make sure there's no bump steer in this at all. We never want it to have some type of bump steer, because that's very bad for road contact, and plus you lose control easily, so you don't want to do that. So 10K 560 spring, front and rear. That gives me an idea. And the front spring is 160 millimeters long. So from here to here is 160 millimeters. If you want to do a math of what 160 millimeters is, comparisons inches, go to 160 and 160 divide 25.4. That gives you inches. Just a little tight just because of the wheel fitment and everything to get my hand in there. So far I measured it's about just a hair under 14 inches. Just because it goes sits on top, and where the shock will meet where the hub assembly will be. Just give me a rough idea. So I'm going to show you the coilover and kind of pre-adjust it from there, and go on so on from that. Just get it, yeah. I'm going to start with about 14 inches and work from there, just because it gives me a quick idea of it. And I'll start slowing down, say like 13.5 or so inches, just because how much clearance this actually has left. And from the tire itself, it's about, it shows it's like 24.5 tall, although from factory tire it's like 25 inches with the compound against the ground, flush and everything, about 24.5. So it's about 26.5. So, and that's about 2 inches play right there. I will probably work with about 25 inches total from how low actually should sit, and then later on I'll try to camber these wheels as much as I could too. Just get the proper race settings and everything. You do not want to have like zero camber ever, because of the sidewall deal of you will lose traction easily if you just keep the camber zero from factory. There is a presetting on there that you take this little stub out and it gives you like, I don't know, like a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch camber in, to give you a quick idea for something if you have any issues. But we shouldn't have any issues with this, because I have most of this stuff except for like aftermarket sway bar and stuff like that. So I'm not really worried about just that just yet until I see how this coilover setup is going to react. So let's get the coilover and a preset and show you what I have and what spring rate I got for this, to give you guys an idea if it actually works or not. I will in the future. I'm going to play the idea is trying to change the spring rates here and there, see what's the comfort zone of handability, and make sure it gets the proper grip around the track, and not just for daily use, but just enough to actually get proper grip, so I don't have any body roll, too much bump steer, all that stuff. So let's get it started and see how it is. Alright, show you the one spring, the front assembly, and this is going to be the rear. This is the rear shock. Rear shock assembly. And has the pre-adjuster up there for dampening control. And it's got the nice poly bushing on the bottom for noise cancellation, so you don't have to have so solid. And it's nice to have actually front sway bar end links on this, so it gives you that. So I had to try to find new ones for it. There's the rear spring. I'm gonna put this upside down. I like to have the numbers and everything proper and everything. And you want the I'll have to make sure how the spring is set up, but I'm very honest, this is actually has to be upside down. So yeah, and actually this will have to be like this when you're installing it. It has to be upside down and everything. So, and these are the adjusters right here. Don't try to work it in too hard, because you'll strip these out pretty hardcore if you don't properly tighten them down. And this is the little mount that comes with it. You can buy this separate if you need to replace it from BcRacing NA.com. Give you extra parts if you need to replace it and everything. It's one of the reasons why I really like BC Racing. You have a lot of variety parts available to replace, to swap out, to upgrade, or just want to get a little customize your own ride. That's one of the biggest reasons I like BC Racing, because they're very variable of the type of setup you want to do with. Compared to any other company, this is the only, really, to me, the only company you can really change out stuff with no issue. So yeah, thumbs up on BC Racing to give you a very good aspect of customizing your ride. So good stuff. Let's get this started. Oh, also forgot, after showing you the video, I had to get camber and strut tow bars for the rear, because it's very required for a setup like this. It's SPC. I got the steel instead of aluminum because I don't really trust aluminum to keep control arms safe and everything. So to me, steel is the best bet to go. And it actually has like a normal rubber base, or rubber bushing to keep that noise down and everything. It's still going like a pill mount and everything if you want. And I highly recommend these because of this company, and Honda actually use this type of design from their race series cars. So just give you an idea, Honda knows what they're looking for when they're buying parts or having a joint company to mess with. And plus I also have tow bars, tow adjustment bars with it too. Give me a second to open this up. I have not even really opened this up at all since I got it from Accident Industries. Alright, here I finally opened the box and show you what I have for the rear setup for this car. It's what it requires to get the proper alignment for the rear itself. You can't really naturally just use the rear stock stuff, the camber assembly to the tie rod assembly too. I decided to just go with this tie rod itself to see how it actually is naturally. If I want to go change the mount later on, I will. So just give me see what it actually feels like with this. I have run their product before. I did have a couple issues, but I'm worried. And mostly I used them like for 3 to 4 years straight, daily, summer to winter abuse and everything. So it got some wear and tear on it just because of the company material they're using. So these is the Godspeed tie rod, tie rod toe assembly. So got this pre-assembly right here to adjust from. Nice and powder coated, like a metallic red with flake in it. And I decided to go with the pivot style mount for the rear, just because you want the most proper traction. You don't want to have the wheel just cocked side to side to lose focus on the grip. So if you don't, it just will be very unsettling, very harsh, and very awkward. You'll be squirming everywhere much as possible. So you want it solid much as you can in the rear, as much as you could. Except for this, I kind of want to see actually how it plays out. But these are actually a hard bushing, so I have used these before and never had an issue. So they're good stuff. So Godspeed here. SPC for the camber assembly and everything. Sorry for that noise of the vehicle going by. And let's get this started. Right now I'm going to be trying to work with the front only. I'm going to try to do a different way of installing and uninstalling the parts from factory and everything, just because it's very difficult in some ways, because how factory they have the spindle hub assembly for the shock itself, because it's not very hard. It's not too much hard. It's more time consuming than you really need, and you can also damage stuff proper if you don't do it proper. So I'm going to take my time and make sure this thing is as good as goes. Hi guys, I'm going to be starting my coilovers install and everything, but first I want to show you with this. I want to try a new different way to get these front struts and springs off by itself without taking the axle nut off and taking that lower control arm bolts off and everything. So I'll show you a different way, but it's not like you think I'm going to AutoZone, get that spring compressor. I actually got a really proper one for this style of spring strut setup. It's right here, and it's called a spring compressor for sure, but it's for a proper spring uninstall and to install and everything. From the company it's come from, it's SPC. They actually designed suspension parts for these, for any suspension parts you need, from control arms and everything. So I give a really good shout out with these so far. I see very good reviews with this all over the country. I got these at Summit Racing. They only had 3 in stock, so now they only have 2. So let me get this started and see how this actually is. But I'm going to take you a quick a video clip of what it's going to look like just with one right now installed, before I can get this one installed though too. Alright, here you guys, here's that SPC spring compressor, how it's going to look when it comes off. It basically, there's no shaft on top, so it's all one unit. You basically adjust this arm all the way up, so you have enough clearance to squeeze this in. And so far I have a little tension on this already, just to give me an idea of what it's going to feel. This is not tight on yet, just letting you know, because I need to put this down. It's for safety measures. So just put this down, and when you want to take the spring off, you compress it, put this spring all the way down to the very last of the sleeve of the threads on this, all the way up, so you can start adjusting this down much as you could. And you have to release this by a 19mm wrench or socket, whatever you need to use. And so this starts to compress much as I could, and I should have enough clearances to get this bad boy off. Now, hopefully, and I should mainly take this spring off. I have to take this off though too, so let me get this started and I'll show you what's going to look like afterwards. Basically what it looks like with a Spc Spring Compressor. And just note that if you ever do get this, it's you have to do like a double process on this. You have to compress the spring first. As soon as you have done enough, then you have to move this position down to here. It actually has a nice little hook right here for something like this to put the spring in. Then note that it's still a little tricky to get this out. Probably, I don't know if it might be easier to do the other way or this way. So far, I don't find it too bad on this. Just note that right here it's a little separated because the spray's been compressed. And you can see the green stuff, that's basically the lubrication for the bearing they have inside for pivot for moving the wheel in and out. Alright guys, I have a jack stand under there to support the car. I have a jack under here to support don't bind up the axle and everything. And so I can get in there the strut out. And yeah, it's very tricky to get this off. You have to put a little pressure on it mostly because it's putting a lot of pressure on the sway bar when putting down. It shouldn't be too bad. Just make sure you have maybe an extra friend to help you out so you don't get in a rough spot. I also loosen this up just in case for any binding. There's no lot of play on here, so should be good on that. But overall, I didn't take any those off at all, just kept it straight and available. You can see there's nothing in there anymore, and that's like for the center punch hole for the alignment control. And you notice right here there's a little, it's not rounded, so you basically can add like, I don't know, like a quarter camber or whatever to this if you want to, but you have to punch this little thing out. You have to punch that out from that little hole. Actually, it looks like it unscrews, so you just unscrew it somehow. I don't, although, yeah, you have to unscrew it from the top, and it should come right out. So let me get this started, and I'll show you what settings I have for the spring. I'm about to start doing the rears now. It's been a couple days because I was thinking about doing the next day, and I just couldn't really get up to do it, especially after work, because I only had like an hour and a half of daylight left. So I said I'll wait till on Tuesday to do this. So I'm going to start the rear and give you an idea where to look to do if you have not done this. I already took my own precautions how to get the car in a way. I measured the rear the spring height from factory setting, measured how much I need to go down from there from the collar, and also I measured the shock too, how tall the shock sits from where the mount is into where it mounts to the lower control arm. So giving me an idea where I need, just make sure I'm in at the right location without bottoming out the shock or too tall of the shock or anything. I just want to make sure it's flush, even, and out, so I don't have any issues later on. So let me get this started, and I'll show you what's video clips of the inside after I'm done and before. I'm sorry, it's a little too early and it's 50 degrees out, you can tell. Although I have shorts on, so it don't really bother me on the bottom side, but yeah, I get cold on top, especially my head. But let me get this started before I start doing like the toe bars and camber arm toe too. I'll show you the previous before that. All right. I'm gonna show you guys really quick where I've been putting these the rear jack stands at. But where I'm going to put this location with jacks, I'm sticking right at this control arm section, so I can lift each corner of the wheel. Because before, like the older gens, 9 gens and previous gens, they actually had a little hook there. I was able to stick a board in there and support the whole thing, but this thing has a little thing right here. I don't know what to really want to try to work on that, because it's only on one side, so I want to get it perfectly even each cross. So I actually did that side, lifted it up. Now I'm working on this side so I can lift that side up evenly, so I don't have issues long run having a. I'm gonna try to get both sides up at the same time so I can work on right off the bat each other. So to give you an idea where to put these jacks at, if you want to put the jack stands in these each corners, so you'd be more safe and go without having the car fall or not on it properly. Just want to show you where to stick the rear spring and the sleeve onto the back section, so you can put it on proper without having issues later on. So this is the rubber isolator. You put it on underneath so it sits in this little hold. Then here's the collar section. I'm not going to stick this on yet, but what I'm going to do is I don't want to pre-tune the spring just right off the bat, because I have to press this thing all the way up just to be safe. So what I'm going to do is put this bad boys all the way up to give me some clearance, just to make sure it actually fits on fully. So right here you'll notice it says height adjuster mount on top of the spring. So this basically sits right up there. But first you need the rubber isolator, the two with it. Let me go find it. There you should where it stick the bottom vibration isolator and everything. And here's the top one. Stick at the top. Basically kind of fits pretty easy. Let me get in there. Oh, tight. A little tight. Let me see if it's there. And that one, actually the one that goes on the bottom, now this one actually fits properly on the right in those little holder there, especially up top. So you can put the spring in and everything. And where'd it go? Yeah, it's right behind me. So basically goes like this. Exactly. And while you lift this up, this should naturally, you want to keep your hand in line and make sure this lines up though too, while you put this part into there. So let me jack this up really quick. Close to it. Let me make sure this lines up with the brake assembly and this little holder. Let me move this camera out of the way for a second, so I can get in this spot. Voila. Now it's all, just to let you guys know that before you put the spring in and right after you take the factory spring out, when it drops down, then you can take the factory shock bolt out and everything, but when you're trying to put everything back in, you want to put this bolt in first, so it goes in properly. Because this is going to get in the way. I didn't realize that at first, so just because I had to do the not like reverse, I had to do redirecting my way of putting this on. And note that this bolt right here is actually a 17 socket. You can use the 17 socket, or I use this. Just basically loosen it up. It gives you nice movement, so in tight placements, or you can just use the ratchet though too with a 17 socket on it. And on top of here though too, I didn't really have to take this little curtain deal off. I just kind of moved it out of the way and put those two 14mm bolts in there with a long extension. Luckily I had this is for my torque thing when I used to do wheels and stuff like that at the tire shop. So I use this for extension, so, and for a 12mm socket. So don't want to like torque them in right off the bat, just kind of guide them in so it's proper without stripping the threads or anything. So it's pretty easy, and it's all meant for the rear. And let me get finished with this back section again, so I can get the process of make sure the spring and this assembly is proper and lowered how I need it to be. But I actually put some penetrated oil in between right here, so this slides in proper, because it was fighting me a little bit. So I put a little penetrated oil so it'll help me slide a little easier and line it up better, so I don't mess up this bolt and everything, because you don't want to do that. So put a little bit of penetrated oil to help it slide easier. Make sure when you install this spring in this assembly, make sure this bottom adjuster is tight against this spring and everything, so you don't have a lot of play in it. When you're driving around and you notice the springs decompressed and everything, this will make noises if you don't tighten this down properly. So make sure you adjust the bottom one by hand. Make sure it's nice and tight by hand. Then you can pre-adjust a little bit. I wouldn't really mess with too tight. But you guys that when you take that rear control arm off, this is how it sits naturally. So basically it sits like this, and this is where the outer wheel would be. This would be the inner wheel. There's an annoying car that is leaking exhaust. Sorry about that. So this is the inner wheel. When you take the bolt off on the back side, it's very tricky on the driver's side rear, just because you have the fuel line there, fuel neck there and everything. You will need like a 3/8 ratchet ratchet with a very shallow socket for it. Put it. I use these two to get them off. I could not use a 1/2 inch just to get them off because there's very room. I was basically doing this half the time, and after I ran out of space because the back side was getting close to the fuel system, I started using an adjustable one of a 17, because where it sits there's a metal piece that flange out too far to give it more strength, rigidity and all that stuff, so it doesn't flex underneath there. So I use this at the end where the bolt is actually enough. I can just grind this out. Now after I got that out, so as a reference to show you guys how to get these adjustable upper control arms equal to factory, what I did is took this stock bolt right here, put underneath the factory control arm, and same from the other side of the two, stick underneath, and you could put this side in first into where the hole is, where the bolt is, and you can naturally just eye it out right here when the bolt lines it up. After the bolt lines up, you can adjust it little by little just to make sure it fits flush. So just to give you an idea where the stock would be sitting, so I would probably start stock, see how it actually is, because you don't need that much rear camber for stock for lowering compared to the fronts. Fronts you'll need a lot more, because when you're turning in, you want that tire to be flat much as you could to get more traction around cornering. So the rears you don't need, because the rears just help it guide, trail itself on while the fronts are moving, doing most of the work. So just give you an idea, so help you understand how this could work for you. So you can pre-adjust it, and when you're getting alignments and you trust a person to do the alignments and you need to have more camber in the rear, so I would just let them know that I want this much negative degrees in the rear compared to the front, so you don't be off on the other side though too. So just give you a quick idea. Alrighty, I got everything buttoned up, tightened down as much as I can. See all the red sway bar link over there. Not sway bar, tie rod adjuster. The SPC rear camber arms. And it's all been buttoned up and everything. After just lowering it, you can see I got about finger room right there, just a little play. It's not too bad, and compared to the fronts, I got almost 2 fingers. So let me go. See, they're all basically the same. They're from the where my spring rate is with the length and everything is a lot different than you'll be dealing with your own. For mine is about 4 millimeters from the thread where the collar is. The fronts are I believe 7 up front only to adjust from. This is 18 by 9.5 with 35 offset with 255 35 18 tires. So you can really see there's very good enough clearance. So I'll give this, like, the rear to me compared from stock, I would say more close to 2 degrees, about 2 degrees in the rear, and maybe like 1.5 or so in the front. So I'm gonna have my alignment the guy to mess with the camera and everything, so it can get preset. Hopefully I could do it maybe this week. Hopefully, if I can't, I'll have to do it next Tuesday when I'm off. So I have somebody go with me to get this car aligned, and so I can just drop it off and have him take his time on it to get this car aligned next week. So hopefully I will have more content for you guys to show what this car could do on the twisties a little bit and the back roads, and how it handles naturally.